I remember the day I turned 60 like it was yesterday. My children had planned a beautiful celebration. My old colleagues and friends gathered around, raising a toast to my so-called retirement. My wife, standing beside me, had that familiar knowing smile, the kind that said, "Life's about to change and you don't even realize it yet." That night, I went to bed feeling full of love, full of gratitude, full of the warmth of family and friends. But something else settled in too, an unfamiliar quietness, the kind that lingers in the back of your mind, whispering questions you don't yet have answers to. As I lay there staring at the ceiling, a thought struck me. What now? I had spent my entire life working, providing, planning for the future, but suddenly that future was here, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. The next morning, I woke up at my usual time, ready to go to work. And then it hit me. I had nowhere to go. My phone, once constantly ringing with office calls, was silent. My inbox, once flooded with emails, was empty. My children, who had once needed me for every little thing, were busy with their own families, their own responsibilities. Life had moved on. At first, I waited. I waited for my children to call me, for my friends to drop by, for someone to ask for my advice, my help, anything to remind me that I was still needed. But days passed, then weeks, and I realized something. The world doesn't stop for you just because you've reached a certain age. People love you, they respect you, but they also have their own lives to live. And that's when I understood the truth. No one tells you. Family is important, but after 60, they are not your only reliable support. Not because they don't care, but because life works that way. If you want to be happy, independent, and strong in your later years, you need to build a foundation for yourself, one that doesn't rely solely on others. It took me time, trial, and a few mistakes to learn this. But looking back now, at 80, I can tell you with certainty, there are 5 pillars that will never fail you. If you build your life around them, you won't just grow old, you will thrive. And today, I want to share those pillars with you, so you don't have to learn them the hard way, like I did. I had a dear friend, Ramesh. We had known each other since our school days. He was always the strongest among us. Back in our youth, he could lift heavy sacks without breaking a sweat, climb trees faster than anyone, and never once fell sick. "My body is like iron," he used to say with a laugh. And for a long time, it seemed true. Even in his 50s, he hardly ever went to the doctor. But then, we hit 60. I started noticing small changes in him. He walked a little slower, he'd get tired after climbing just a few stairs, and yet, he always brushed it off. It's just age catching up, nothing to worry about," he'd say. And so he ignored the occasional chest pain, the dizziness, the extra weight he was putting on. "I've never needed a doctor before. Why start now?" he'd joke. One evening, as we sat in the park, he suddenly clutched his chest, his face twisted in pain, and before I could react, he collapsed. We rushed him to the hospital, but it was too late. A massive heart attack. The doctor said it could have been prevented if only he had done regular checkups, controlled his diet, and exercised. But Ramesh had believed that his body was as strong as it had always been. He hadn't realized that at 60, the rules of the game change. That day, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't take my health for granted. I started walking every morning, just 30 minutes at first. I cut down on excess salt and sugar. I made sure to get my checkups done on time, even when I felt fine. And you know what? It made all the difference. While others around me started struggling with diabetes, heart disease, and joint pains, I stayed active. Not because I was lucky, but because I took responsibility for my health before it was too late. Let me tell you something. After 60, your body is no longer forgiving. The bad habits you ignored in your youth will come knocking at your door. If you don't take care of yourself now, you'll spend your later years running from one hospital to another, and no amount of love from your family can replace the strength of a healthy body. So, don't wait for a wake-up call like Ramesh had. Start today. Walk a little, eat better, listen to your body, because at this stage of life, your health is not just about living longer, it's about living well. I want to tell you about a man named Mohan. He was one of the kindest souls I ever knew, always ready to help others, always putting his family first. He worked hard his entire life, ensuring his children had the best education, the best comforts, and never had to struggle like he did growing up. "My children are my wealth," he used to say proudly. They will take care of me when I'm old. For years, he lived with this belief, never saving much for himself. Every extra rupee went toward his family's needs, their dreams, their future. Retirement came, and at first everything seemed fine. His children loved him, respected him, and often reassured him, "Papa, don't worry, we're here for you." But life, my friend, is unpredictable. His elder son got transferred to another city for work. His daughter got married and became busy with her own family. His younger son, though well-meaning, had his own financial struggles. Slowly, Mohan started feeling like a burden. He hesitated to ask for money, avoided expressing his needs, and convinced himself that he could manage with less. One evening, as we sat on a park bench, he sighed and said, "I spent my whole life giving, but I never thought about keeping something for myself. If only I had saved a little, I wouldn't feel this helpless." That moment broke my heart. A man who had given everything to his family now felt embarrassed to ask for help. Not because his children didn't love him, but because circumstances change, and no one should have to depend entirely on others at this stage in life. That day, I learned a valuable lesson. Financial independence is not just about money. It's about dignity. It's about not having to think twice before buying a medicine, visiting a doctor, or fulfilling a simple wish. It's about having the confidence to take care of yourself, even if life takes unexpected turns. So, my dear friend, take this seriously. Plan ahead. If you are 60, make sure you have a source of steady income, pensions, investments, savings, or even a small side business. Live within your means, but don't live in fear of spending on your well-being. Because, let me tell you, a financially independent elder is a respected elder. Your children will always love you, but life may not always allow them to support you the way they wish. So, do yourself a favor. Become your own pillar of financial strength, because peace of mind in old age is worth more than any amount of money. I still remember the first few months after I retired. At first, it felt like a well-deserved break, waking up without an alarm, drinking my tea slowly, watching the morning sun. But soon, something felt off. My phone, which once buzzed all day with work calls, had gone silent. The house, once filled with the laughter of my children, felt too quiet. One evening, I picked up my phone and scrolled through my contacts. There were hundreds of names, colleagues, acquaintances, even old school friends. But something stopped me from calling them. I thought, what if they're too busy? What if they've moved on? So I put the phone down. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself sinking into a strange loneliness, one I had never known before. Then, one afternoon, my old friend Shankar called. "Come for tea," he said. I hesitated, but finally agreed. When I arrived, I saw a group of men and women, all around my age, sitting together, chatting, laughing. They welcomed me as if I had never been away. I sat down, and for the first time in months, I felt alive. We talked about old times, shared jokes, even debated over politics like we used to in our youth. That day, I realized something important. Friendships don't fade with time. We just stop making the effort. You see, after 60, life shifts. Your children grow up, your responsibilities lessen, and the world no longer revolves around you. It's easy to feel forgotten. But loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about losing connection. And the truth is, if you don't nurture your social circle, the silence will consume you. From that day on, I made a rule: never let a week pass without meeting a friend. I joined a walking group in the mornings, started attending community gatherings, and even picked up an old hobby, playing chess at the local park. Slowly, life felt full again. My dear friend, don't wait for loneliness to find you. Be proactive, reconnect with old friends, make new ones, join a club, a senior group, or even an online community. Because when health fails and finances fluctuate, it's companionship that keeps your heart young. Your family will always love you, but they have their own lives. If you build strong friendships, you will never feel alone. Because in the end, life is not about the years you live, but the laughter you share. So, pick up the phone today, call an old friend. You'll be surprised how much it means. I still remember the first Monday after I retired. For the past 40 years, my mornings had been the same. Wake up early, dress up, and rush to work. My office was my world. Meetings, deadlines, responsibilities, it all gave me a sense of purpose. But that Monday, I woke up, sat on my bed, and realized I had nowhere to go. At first, it felt like a vacation. No pressure, no stress. I read the newspaper slowly, had my tea in peace, and even took an afternoon nap. But as days turned into weeks, a strange emptiness crept in. Without work, I felt invisible. The phone calls from colleagues stopped, the urgency in my days disappeared, and I started questioning my worth. Who am I now? What do I do with my time? Then, I met Mrs. Sharma, a retired school teacher in my neighborhood. Every morning, she sat on her balcony, surrounded by children, teaching them math and English. One day I asked her, "Why don't you just relax and enjoy your retirement?" She smiled and said, "Because the day I stop teaching is the day I start dying." That one sentence shook me. She wasn't earning money from it. She wasn't doing it because she had to. She was doing it because it gave her life meaning. That's when I realized, work isn't just about earning a living. It's about having a reason to wake up every morning. I decided to find my own purpose. I started mentoring young professionals, sharing the lessons I had learned over the years. I picked up writing, a passion I had abandoned in my youth. Slowly, my days began to feel full again. The energy returned, the joy returned, and most importantly, the feeling of being needed returned. My dear friend, listen to me. After 60, you need more than just rest. You need a purpose, something that makes you excited to wake up. It doesn't have to be a job. It can be teaching, volunteering, gardening, learning music, writing, or even mentoring the younger generation. Because when you have a purpose, you don't grow old, you grow wiser. Your mind stays sharp, your heart stays young, and your soul stays at peace. Retirement is not the end, it's a new beginning, but only if you choose to make it so. Find what makes you feel alive, because the moment you stop having a reason to live, life starts slipping away. And trust me, at 80, I can tell you, purpose is the secret to staying young at heart. I once knew a man named VJ. He was the most disciplined, responsible person I had ever met. He planned everything, his career, his finances, his family's future, but there was one thing he never planned for: happiness. VJ believed that happiness was something that would come automatically once everything was settled. "I'll enjoy life once I retire," he used to say. "Right now, there's too much work to do." So he spent his youth working tirelessly, sacrificing vacations, hobbies, and even small joys for later. Then retirement came. He had everything: a house, savings, and a loving family. But one thing was missing. He had forgotten how to enjoy life. His days felt long and empty. He had no hobbies, no passions, nothing that made him laugh the way he used to when he was young. I remember sitting with him one evening as he sighed and said, "I have spent my whole life preparing for the future, but I never learned how to live in the present." That moment was an eye-opener for me. I didn't want to reach 70 or 80 and realize that I had missed out on the simple joys of life. So I made a decision. I would start living every single day, not just surviving. After 60, happiness is not something that just happens. It's something you must actively seek. It's in the small things: watching the sunset, listening to old songs, laughing with friends, trying something new. I started gardening, something I had always wanted to do but never had time for. I traveled to places I had only seen in books. I even learned to cook. Imagine that, at my age. And you know what? I felt younger than ever. You see, life after 60 is not about just passing time, it's about making every moment count. Your children will have their own lives, your career will be behind you, but your happiness is in your hands. Don't wait for someone to come and make you happy. Find it in the little things, in the experiences you've never had, in the dreams you've postponed for too long. Laugh often, dance even if you have 2 left feet. Eat your favorite food without guilt. Try something new without worrying about what people will say. Because if you don't, you'll look back one day and realize that life was never about waiting. It was always about living. At 80, if there's one thing I know for sure, it's this: happiness is not a destination, it's a choice. And after 60, you deserve to make that choice every single day. As I sit here at 80, looking back on the years gone by, I realize that life is a lot like a river. In our younger days, we rush forward, chasing success, responsibilities, and dreams. But after 60, the pace slows. And if we're not careful, we might find ourselves stranded, waiting for something or someone to push us forward again. But let me tell you something, my friend. After 60, you are not at the end of your journey. You are at the beginning of a new one. A journey where you no longer have to prove anything to anyone. A journey where you don't live for obligations, but for yourself. And the only way to truly enjoy this phase is to build your life on these 5 unshakable pillars: your health, your finances, your friendships, your purpose, and most importantly, your happiness. If you take care of your health, you won't have to depend on anyone to move, walk, or enjoy life's simple pleasures. If you ensure financial stability, you won't feel like a burden or hesitate to fulfill your needs. If you nurture friendships, you will never feel alone, no matter how far your family drifts. If you find a purpose, you will wake up with energy and enthusiasm every day. And if you prioritize happiness, you will make every single moment count, leaving behind not just years, but a legacy of joy. I know change isn't easy. It's comfortable to keep doing what we've always done, to stay in routines, to keep waiting for life to happen. But trust me, the biggest mistake you can make after 60 is to sit back and wait, because time won't stop for you. Either you take charge of your life, or life will pass you by before you even realize it. So today, make a decision. Don't just exist, live. Take a step toward better health. Call an old friend. Plan your finances wisely. Find something that excites you. And most importantly, smile, because this phase of your life can be the best one yet, if you choose to make it so. And if you're wondering how to take that first step, don't worry, you're not alone. Here at Elderly Hacks, we bring you practical tips, advice, and motivation to help you lead a fulfilling and independent life after 60. So, if you found value in this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's build this community together, where aging isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace with wisdom and joy. Also, don't forget to check out our other videos. Whether it's health tips, financial advice, or ways to stay socially active, we've got plenty of content that will help you navigate this beautiful stage of life. So, go ahead, explore, learn, and most importantly, start living your best life today.